We will talk about the AxxonSoft platform calculator in this video. It is a convenient tool for calculating the necessary hardware resources for VMS based on Axxon Next or Axxon Intellect. After watching this video, you will know key parameters for calculating hardware, how to choose a platform for a specific system configuration, calculating of CPU utilization and amount of required servers, differences in calculation between video server and operator's workstation, how to calculate the video streams and required size of the archive, how the video analytics affects CPU load. AxxonSoft Platform Calculator can be found on AxxonSoft's website in the Support tab. It is a web application that is always available online for many browsers. The interface of the calculator is quite simple and allows you promptly start calculating the platform without any additional actions. But let's make an overview of its settings. The calculator interface can be divided into three zones: Calculator Settings menu, Area of Input Parameters for Calculation, Calculation Results area. Settings menu. Let's see Settings menu. There are following options in this menu. The function Project Export, Project Import, can be used to save the configuration of the system. The saved files can be used at any time to import into the platform calculator, and then the project calculation can be continued. The menu item Offline version allows you to download zip archive with the offline version of calculator to be able to make calculations when internet connection is not available. To run the offline version, unpack the zip file to any folder on the computer and then run file local launcher.exe. In the menu Vendors Calculator, place the links to the popular camera vendors calculators of the video archive. These links may be needed for more accurate bitrate definition, which may vary in cameras from the different manufacturers. The next item is CPU Architectures, allows you to specify the types of the CPU architectures that will be displayed in the calculation results. Nowadays, the list is quite long. Let's remove the old types. So as we start to talk about CPU architectures, let's also discuss how to add any other platforms that are not represented in the calculator by default. To do this, just start typing the name of your CPU in the Add Platform field, choose one of the proposed processors and click Add Platform button. The selected model will appear in the calculation results. This option should be used with caution. When adding CPUs in this way, the result will be calculated based on the site viewbenchmark.net. And the more different the architecture of your CPU from the tested models, the less accurate results of the theoretical calculation can be. However, in some cases it is a very useful functionality. The next item is Settings. It includes choosing the user interface language. Setting the maximum CPU load, the number of servers is calculating based on this parameter. Platform testing is always performing with some certain conditions which may differ from the real ones. Specific parameters of cameras, software settings, launching additional applications and the other factors may cause significant differences between the real load and the calculated values. So, it is necessary to make calculation with the performance reserve. Based on the above, it is recommended to set the maximum load of CPUs, no more than 60%. Inclusion to the calculation the detectors with theoretical load. Enabling Karman Auto Platform Calculation and Show Karman Cores Result options are only used in the calculation of the Karman LPR. Due to its specifics, it will take a long time to describe of these analytics. So, we will not consider it in this video. By default, when you enter each parameter, the calculator automatically recalculates the recommended platforms. For large configurations, delays for automatic recalculation can be significant. Therefore, there is an option to disable automatic recalculation and make recalculation only by pressing the button. On the Details tab placed important information which should be considered when designing the system. In particular, recommendations for the calculation of the archive, choosing video card, RAM and etc. The last item of the Settings menu contains links to documentation. Area of Input Parameters for Calculation. The main parameters of the video surveillance system that affects the calculation are software used, Axxon Next or Intellect, system type, 32-bit or 64-bit, number and model of cameras, activity in the camera's view, resolution, codec and frame rate of the video streams, number and purpose of the video streams, using a video analytics. Next, we will discuss each of these parameters in details. As you can see, switching between Axxon Next and Intellect basically does not change anything in the interface. Only the set of detectors differs. The principle of calculating both products is generally the same. So the rest of the parameters we'll discuss for Axxon next. 64-bit platforms and operating systems are already widely used. Therefore, basically for new projects is choosing this type system. However, sometimes it is necessary to calculate in the 32-bit mode. This option should be selected when installing this software on 32-bit operating system or when using outdated camera models that do not support 64-bit mode. A list of such cameras is listed in the driver's pack documentation. There are limitations of 32-bit mode that one should remember. Using memory is limited to 3 GB. In addition, some detectors do not support operation in 32-bit mode. A list of such detectors is given in the documentation of the corresponding product. One of the most significant parameters is the number of cameras in the system. In terms of software, the number of cameras in the system is unlimited and the limitations only by the capabilities of hardware. Therefore, any number of channels can be set in the cams field. If the manufacturer of the IP camera or the model of the video capture card is known, you can select appropriate brand in the field camera brand. In case of absence of information on the brand, it is recommended to select undecided. Then the calculation will be made for the average variant. Activity is approximated estimate of the amount of motion in the field of view of cameras. How often and how much the image changes in the frame has a great effect on the bitrate and CPU load for decoding the streams. This ultimately determines the size of the archive and the required hardware capacity. You can get the help on possible activity values by pointing the mouse to the icon with. Next to the name of this parameter. Very low activity, it's almost a static picture. Low, for example, a room which is used occasionally. Medium is a scene with 30% changes in the frame and average number of moving small objects. High, scene with more than 70% of changes in the frame and with a lot of moving small details. For example, a busy street. Resolution. It is a resolution of the video image in pixels. The list of available resolutions depends on the chosen camera brand or the model of the video capture card. Generally, the resolution is selected based on the required density of pixels per meter depending on the problem being solved. For example, in many cases 25 pixels per meter enough to detect a man. For identification person you will need at least 250 pixels per meter. Of course, while choosing resolution it should be taken into account the specification and capability of the certain camera. Codec is a standard for video stream compression. Depending on the camera manufacturer or model of video capture card, a list of available codecs may be different. Nowadays, the generally accepted standard is codec H.264. It is the most optimal in terms of image quality and size of the video archive. However, with coming many megapixels cameras, there is a growing need for more efficient video stream encoding to reduce network traffic and archive size. Technologies such as AxxonSoft Stream or H.265 codec, which are also available in the calculator, will help to solve this problem. Also, it should be remembered that often for reducing the size of archive you must pay with increasing the hardware load for the decoding of video stream. The next parameter is FPS. As well as choosing the resolution, the frame rate should be chosen considering the nature of the observed scene and the problem being solved. Despite the fact that the human eye is capable of perceiving 25 FPS, this value is not always justified. Because it leads to increasing in the load of the network, in the load of hardware for decoding and increasing of the size of archive. Mainly for the average activity in the scene, 12 to 15 FPS is enough, and for scenes with a low activity will be enough 4 to 8 FPS. In some cases, for example for face recognition or LPR, strongly recommended to keep the minimum frame rate as it's specified in the documentation. Bitrate is a speed of transferring video data in Mbps. For the codec H.264, the default value is calculated based on the constant bitrate, CBR, recommended for specific resolutions. For other codecs, the default value is calculated based on the averaged data obtained from the tests made by AxxonSoft. As mentioned earlier, it is recommended to use camera manufacturer's calculator for more reliable bitrate calculation. The bitrate value found in this way should be entered manually in the corresponding field. As a result, the required volume of the video archive will be automatically recalculated. The most modern IP cameras support multi-streaming. That is simultaneous transmission at least 2 video streams from one camera. Mainly, the first stream with high quality is recorded to archive and the second stream of low quality is used to displaying, which saves CPU resources. By the way, if one camera is displayed in full screen mode, the first stream with higher resolution will be automatically selected. This technology is called green stream. AxxonSoft supports receiving from one camera 2 video streams, and Intellect up to 4 streams. How many video streams are supported by the camera, and the characteristics of these streams usually can be found in the passport of the camera. To set the second video stream from the camera, press plus in the green stream column. When the characteristics and number of video streams are defined, we can move to the most important part of the calculation, choosing the type of the video streams. In other words, to determine the functionality that the platform will be designed for. Any stream from the camera coming to the server can be recorded, displayed on the monitor and transmitted for displaying on the remote client. However, as noted earlier, a high-quality stream is typically used for recording, and a low-quality stream is used for displaying. There are 3 main calculation options in total. Option 1. Server with displaying. It means that recording archive and displaying cameras performing on the server. In this case, you must select record for the first stream and view for the second stream. So, the client button remains unselected because remote clients are not present in the system. Option 2. Server without displaying. Means that the recording happens on the server and displaying on the remote clients. In this case, the first stream must be set to record, and the second one set to client. The view button is not selected because the displaying is performing on another client machine. Option 3. Operator's workstation. The other use names, remote client or remote monitoring workstation. Means that the platform is intended only for displaying cameras and for the work of VMS operator. In this case, you should remove first streams from the configuration and select view in the second streams. The record button is not activated because a separate server is used to record archive. It should be noted here, when calculating the load for displaying, it is necessary to make difference between the number of cameras intended for displaying in general, and the number of cameras simultaneously displayed on the client's monitor. For example, client monitor can be used for displaying cameras turn by turn or displaying some cameras only by alarm. Let's consider, 36 cameras are configured in the system, but only 9 cameras will be viewed simultaneously on the monitor. So in this case the calculation should be made only for 9 cameras for displaying, not for 36. Selecting the type of detector. There are quite a lot of detectors in AxxonSoft and Intellect. The detailed description of each of them you can find in the documentation. For the calculation with using detectors should be considered 2 important points. Requirements of the video stream needed for correct operation of the detectors. They are listed in the documentation. For example, for the basic motion detector to function correctly, the minimum resolution must be at least 320 by 240. Second important point. In Next, the stream for each detector is selecting individually, and in Intellect the stream is assigning only to a group of detectors. For example, it is impossible to choose one stream for LPR and another one for the face detector in Intellect. Whereas this won't cause any problems in Next. More information on assigning streams to detectors in Intellect can be found in the documentation. Additional features and calculation tricks. If cameras of different brands or with different parameters are present in the system, they should be divided into subgroups and parameters should be entered separately for each group. To add a new group, use the Add Cameras button. In the case of large and complex configurations, it is sometimes necessary to exclude some previously entered camera groups from the calculation, to see the loading of platform without them. For this you can simply enter 0 in the selected line. As a result, they will change the color and will be excluded from the calculation. It is also sometimes necessary to calculate the load from several different detectors on the same stream. To do this, use the plus button in the green stream field to create another stream with the same parameters and enable the required detector on it. Because of using in fact only one stream for all detectors, in order to make correct calculation it is necessary to exclude duplications of stream types. Calculation results area. Archive size. The archive can be calculated using one of the following ways. First, time period is given. To do this, set the amount of days you want to store the archive, and duration of recording during a day in percentage. The result of the calculation is the required size of the disk space. The first number in the results indicates the net archive volume, and the second, the required capacity of the disk subsystem, considering the reserve for formatting. Second, archive size is given. There should be set the size of disk space. The result of the calculation will be the period of time for which the archive can be stored on it. As mentioned upper, you should use vendor's calculator to find bitrate of IP devices. Then enter received values manually in the platform calculator to get the required size of the archive. Calculation of camera's streams is required to check the following parameters: limitations on the network bandwidth, restrictions on the write speed of the disk subsystem. Calculating camera's streams. The following streams information are present in the calculation results. Stream for recording. Summary stream from IP cameras. Stream to clients. The streams are calculated for all servers in total, and it should be divided manually for chosen number of servers. The list of recommended platforms. The Servers Specs tab lists the platform calculation results for CPU models with a selected architecture. The Servers column shows the number of servers that you need to use for the specified number of cameras. The RAM column provides recommendations for the size of RAM per server. Random access memory. It is recommended to use the memory in dual-channel mode to increase the hardware performance. Video card. For servers with displaying video card NVIDIA GeForce GT 520, Intel HD graphics 530 or more powerful will be enough. For servers without displaying, you may only need to connect the monitor for the initial configuration of the system. So, any graphics card, even the weakest, including the integrated ones, will be suitable. There is only one limitation for Axon Next: the graphics card must support OpenGL version 2.0 or higher. Solutions from Promise and Secure Logic. In the Promise and Secure Logic tabs you can find solutions provided by these vendors. Saving calculation results. To save the calculation results to Excel file, click the Export Configuration to XLS button. The exported file will contain the list of recommended CPUs. Specialist Assistance. If you have any question during your work with the platform calculator, you can apply for the help to the AxxonSoft specialist. To do this, please click the Partner Support button. Thanks for watching this video, hope it was useful for you.